What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Two-Wheeled Rider YouTube channel. My name is Mario Orsini, and like I stated in two other videos that were already released earlier today, this was supposed to be a video about how I go about editing my motorcycle travel videos. Unfortunately, it was nearly an hour long, so I decided to chop it up into 3 separate videos. In this video you're about to watch, I'm going to go over some tips and tricks and methods I use when I'm editing my videos, and most of these things will translate over to different editing softwares even if you don't use Final Cut Pro. But I hope you guys enjoy some of these tips and tricks and help make your videos just a little bit better. There are some other tricks and stuff I can show you, and I guess I can do some of that real quickly. Let me airdrop a photo onto here so you can see what this looks like. Alright, so the nice thing about having a Mac and an iPhone is it works so well together. So you just saw that pop up on there. I'm able to airdrop that photo and then come down here to downloads and drag it right over. This is a photo that's going to be used in here, but not in the way I'm about to use it. I'm just going to drop it in. So I have my photos set, and you can preset yours however you want. I have mine set to 10 seconds. They're always going to default to 10 seconds in length. That doesn't mean they're going to stay on the screen 10 seconds because I'm probably going to edit them down, but that's a pretty good default. 5 seconds would probably be all right. But you can see a problem here if we were to use the photo the way we're currently using it. We've got these black areas over here because this isn't a 16:9 photo. This is probably like a 4:3 photo. So we have some options, and let me just show you some of the other tools we have on here. So if I click this right here, I have some options here. I can transform, I can crop, I can distort. Just to give you an example, we'll go to crop. And then when you go to crop, you have options. You have trim, crop, and Ken Burns. Trim means we are literally trimming down the photo, but we're still going to have this black area. So I'm going to undo that real quickly. If we do crop, it's going to give us the size of the current screen that we're using. And wherever is bright versus the darkened part, if I move it like this and I hit done, boom, Danny and I fill up the screen, looks great. But the problem with a photo in video, and sometimes you guys will see me use still shots, if I'm doing like a photo album thing where I'm giving you a bunch of quick bursts of photos, but in this case, maybe I don't want to do it that way. So I'm just going to undo all this real quick. So maybe what I want to do is, this is kind of a cheap way of doing it. And I don't want to say a cheap way. I mean, it's a good method, but it's easier. We can go Ken Burns. So right now we're on the end. So if I were to do this, so basically what this means is you see this little crosshair on here. That means that's what it's going to zoom in on in the end. So if I were to play this back for you right now under done, it's going to zoom in on Danny's face all the way down to this size right here, this red size, which is not what I want, but it's just for an example. And it's going to do it at the rate of 10 seconds. So if I were to cut this down to 3 seconds, it's going to do it much, much faster. Now, nobody really wants to watch this for 10 seconds, nor do they really want this shot. So we're going to go ahead and edit, undo all this. And we're going to come back to Ken Burns and kind of show you. I don't like for there to be that much movement. And then if you want to make the start smaller and the end a little bit bigger, you can do it that way too. I'm just going to shorten this up so you guys get the idea. So there's a little bit of movement, and I usually like to have a little bit of movement in my photos. It kind of keeps the video going versus all these motion shots and then some sort of still shot. Doesn't look as good. So another slightly more advanced technique of doing this is we can come over and use a keyframe. And this is probably getting a little advanced at this point, but you know, I'll just show you guys some stuff. So if I come over to this clip and I come to the very, very beginning, I'll show you kind of an easy way to do it. So I can adjust the scale of the photo. So instead of cropping it, if I want, I could just zoom in on it, which is essentially the same thing as cropping it. So if I do it at 100, well, let's just zoom in a little bit further. So let's say 190%. If I click this little thing over here, I can add a keyframe. And then if I slide this over, I can pick where I want it to be next. and I could do this and move it back to say 138%. And now watch what happens. Basically what it's going to do, at the beginning of this clip, it's going to be zoomed at 190, and by the time it gets here, it's going to be zoomed back to, what is that, 136%, and then it's going to stay that way for the remainder of the clip. So let me show you. And you can see the countdown over here, and it's going to get to 136, and then it's going to stay right there for the remainder of the clip, or I could cut it or choose to do whatever I want to do. So that's another method to add a little bit of movement into your photos. I could go over all these different transitions we have. I mean, I guess just to show you, I mean, we could put one in. Now, sometimes it's going to say there's not enough media. It just means it's going to cut into the clip a lot. That's okay. And I mean, that's just a transition. To me, that looks cheap and amateurish. I mean, there may be times where, you know, that works, but in most cases, I'm either using cross dissolve, or I have a couple special ones that I've put in here that zoom in, zoom out, left, right, that work well in certain situations, but I don't overuse them. All right, so in this case, if we look at this footage, it looks pretty good, even though we're going Canon to GoPro, like the color profile and everything looks good. If we wanted to make some adjustments quickly, we could. So we could highlight this, we could come up here to match color, and then basically what we do is pick the color we want to match. Now, if you notice that on the screen here, it did adjust the color. I have a little bit more color in my face and everything. If we hit apply match, it's going to automatically do it. I don't know that, I mean, actually it doesn't look too bad, but there are some other ways we can adjust color if we want, so let me show you that. Now, unfortunately, what I'm about to show you will not work in iMovie, but it does work in Final Cut, and they have similar things in Adobe. So if I come over here to titles, and this is something you're going to have to create in Motion if you want to do it my way. There's another way to do it, but I created a title called Adjustment Layer, which is basically just a clear title, and if I drag it up over top of this clip, nothing happens, but that's okay. If I come over here and click on this tab, this is all of my effects. And we have all sorts of effects we can, let me disable this. We have all sorts of effects we can put on here. Like if I highlight well, that's weird. But we have noise, like there's, I don't know, there's tons of stuff we can do to make the clip look different. Some of these are a little outlandish, so you know, you may or may not want to use them. So anyway, the reason I like to have an adjustment layer, and Final Cut just recently put this in not long ago, they have a custom LUT we can add in. And LUT stands for lookup table, which is basically like a color table we can use. Almost think of it as like an Instagram filter. So when I just drag this over, it does nothing. But if I come up here to the custom LUT tab, and this, again, this is far more advanced than what I really need to go into this video, but in case you ever see like the look of my video changing, this is how I do it. I have all these custom LUTs in here. Let me pick out one that I like using, this black eye. All right. Now, the cool part about putting it in here is it did not affect this clip. It only affected the adjustment layer, which is over top of it. So if I disable it, boom, I'm right back to normal. So if I screw something up, all I have to do is mess with the adjustment layers and not the clips. But if I enable it, then I also have the mix up here, and usually like 0.3 or something on some of these looks pretty good. But you can, let's take a look at the shot right now and disable it. See, it just darkened things up a little bit. It gave it a little bit different look. So this is something we can use. Let me just get you a more extreme example. That teal and orange though, this is pretty badass. If we add this one in, it may not work well in this situation, but so we drag this over. Oh, actually, we don't have to drag it over. We just have to choose it because we've already picked a LUT. All right, so that's kind of a neat look, but you can see how extreme it is if we take it all the way up to 1. I think I used this one on my travel series to Alaska, you know, over like some lakes or something to make them look cooler. So down to 0, all the way up to 1, or which is 100%. So I mean, that's just another like tip, trick you can use, whatever. And if you don't want it, just delete the adjustment layer and we're back to normal. Now another question I've gotten is, how do I put logos in here if you know, I don't want the weird backgrounds, like let's say I want to shout out a company or whatever. So let me find some examples here. So I think I have Ride on Moto's logo in here somewhere. Boom. So what you're looking for in most cases is what's called a PNG file. So if I were to take this and just drag this file over here, this file doesn't have a background. It's just what I have there. Like there's no white background or black background, or I mean, this is made to be a part of the logo. And if I want to adjust it, I can transform it and drag it to whatever size I want if I want to give Ride on Moto a shout out. But you need a PNG file. So let's just go find an example of a logo. Let's do Kawasaki logo. And what you can actually do, see where PNG pops up in the search? We can search for that, go to images on Google, click on that. If it's got this weird background like this, that's what you want, because that means it's blank. So we copy, save image as. I'm just going to save it to my downloads. And then we'll come over here and grab it, drag it in, and then just drag it over top here, and you know, we've got the Kawasaki logo. Now, if you get one that's a JPEG file, that means by default it's going to have a white background, and that's a little too far advanced to go into what I want to show you guys tonight, because you need a photo editing software to edit that down, and this is about video editing, not a photo or image editing. But anyway, if you want a clear background on something, you need to get a PNG file. Now, one last thing I want to show you guys tonight, and then again, if you want to see this finished product of what this video turned out as, I'm going to link it down in the description. I'll also link it in the upper right hand corner so you can see how the video turned out. But I specifically shot this footage right here to show you guys how you can do a time lapse without having actually shot a time lapse. So obviously I'm still moving the camera around there, so I want to look to see when I stop, because this is a 15-minute clip. Nobody wants to watch that. It's too long. So we'll wait till the camera stops moving. I got it set up. So I'll blade there, and then I'm just going to drag over. Did I move it again? Yeah. So I'm going to drag it over. I'm just going to keep dragging and dragging. And then I moved the camera, so I want to drag to about, oh, that's where I picked it up. All right, so I'm going to blade there. Now, if you come up here to this little, looks like a little clock, you can go fast, and you can pick 20 times, 8 times, 4 times, whatever. You can do slow, you can do no. But what I like to do is pick custom. And then all I do is put my cursor on here. That's 4.5 minutes. Let's say I want it to be 5 seconds. I literally just drag it down until it shows up. If you look right below the image there, you'll see the yellow numbers. And if I get it to 5 seconds, it's basically, I just created a time lapse. Now it's going to take a second. Up here is where it's rendering down the footage to get it basically so I can play it back in this timeline. And you can see we just turned it into a time lapse, even though we didn't do anything in time lapse mode. And then what I would do here is drag it over, and you know, now we're at this point, and you know, I can time lapse this piece. Now, one thing I can do is I can blade it there, go ahead and do custom, drag it all the way over so that it's like 5 seconds again, or whatever I want it to be. Let's make it around 5 seconds. And now it's going to pick back up to where I'm walking over to grab the camera. And then I can just delete that out. So it ought to look pretty cool now at this point when we watch this back. Delete that. Well, I have a smoother transition now. There we go. And then at the very end, so yeah, that's how I do my time lapses. Sometimes I do actually shoot time lapses on my phone or my GoPro or whatever it may be. But other times I'm simply just, you know, shooting a bunch of footage and then, you know, speeding it up in post. So just another idea. So anyway, guys, those are a few of my tips and tricks that I use when editing my motorcycle travel videos. I hope you guys found, you know, something useful in there that you can use in your own videos. If you did, please be sure to give the video a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you like motorcycles, well,
this is the place to be. If you have any questions about anything I went over, please be sure to check out the other 2 editing videos I put out earlier today, as well as the entire series. But if you still have questions, let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon.